Hello there folks, and we've got another 1v1 cast for you today. This time we're gonna have Matisse versus GregorianMonks. So as we just wait for them to spawn in, again this is a postcast, and I'm afraid I can't get rid of the chrono cam unless I get rid of the whole UI. Otherwise it skips right to the end, which is frustrating. But nonetheless, as the players now spawn in on Forge, a typical 1v1 map that is very prolific throughout the competitive scene. On the top side of the map we've got GregorianMonks in light blue, and on the bottom we have Matisse from PA Gods in purple. I don't know when this replay is from, it was suggested to me, but I hear it's a good game, so let's have a look. Opening up from Matisse, we go double bots, and GregorianMonks, we have double vehicle air, although it might be air vehicle, although given the placement I would imagine the vehicle's second, because of course early on in the game you don't want to be walking for a long time because it wastes time when your commander could be building stuff, and that could set you behind in this game. So out popping a fabricator from GregorianMonks is going to get his metal then. The commander's going to be getting the power and the factories, that's fair enough, and another tank out there to secure this sort of choke point here to give him a little bit of safekeeping for this mechs. Meanwhile Matisse is moving out with a whole group of bots. Docks of course are going to be early game on Forge for Matisse. He likes to get a wide map presence early on, which you can do when you spam bots like this. Unfortunately though, the good thing about the tanks is that they are insane at defending it. So just keeping an eye on proceedings from a sort of bird's eye view, as it were. In the picture-in-picture there you can sort of see the progression down these sort of two lanes here. Again another scout coming in there, managing to take out a fabricator though with that dock, so that's quite a good early game win there from Matisse. That means he's going to have to delay more time by producing another fabricator, which he's electing not to do at this point. Maybe it'll come out of this factory next, indeed it will. But meanwhile that does give of course Matisse the advantage he needs. He is falling behind a little bit on metal and on power as well, but then again that is probably because he's been more heavily microing his units like this. But as we can see here, GregorianMonks using his tanks to defend these 4 mechs here, and of course on Forge if you do lose these 4 mechs and lose that ground, typically you're in a really bad position for the rest of the match. Now, Matisse has built his 4 and he's going to send his fabricator round to build the rest of these, and possibly even to set up a little mini base over there to make sure that he secures those 6. Meanwhile in the middle though, we did see the tanks moving out and getting completely swallowed up by this group of docks, and of course critical mass is relative to the defending numbers. And at this point they're dodging the tank shots reasonably well, having to retreat a little bit, so they are taking out a few ants, but they will not take out any mechs there, which is a plus for GregorianMonks. And it's okay for Matisse as well. I think a few docks traded for a number of vehicles, especially this early on in the game, is fair enough. Of course GregorianMonks seeing lots and lots of docks and squishy bots, so he's going to say, you know what, as long as I get S priority I can bomb you to smithereens, and indeed that's what we're going to see here with a bumblebee. Is it going to move in? The answer to that question is yes. Yes, it does go in, and it does get a few kills there as well. It does get shot down of course. Now Matisse is aware that airplay is being made for by GregorianMonks and will switch up to it himself. Of course he does just about manage to defend against that bomber there before that fabricator goes. That was a clutch move there. Good thing to position those interceptors over there, but another one is going to move over now from Matisse, saying, you know what, I'm going to try again. I'm also going to get a little bit of scouting here on these little metal sites. You are looking in the army tab there, we can see the factory counts 5 to 7, so GregorianMonks is leading in the factory count, but he is falling behind on power. And he possibly needs to build a little bit more of that, maybe with his commander that he is moving out front right now. Now notice how Matisse is beginning to put in grenadiers into his composition. These work wonders against vehicle spam because they kite insanely well, especially against basic tanks like this, and even better so against infernos. But their arcing shots are quite easy to dodge for bots. The other thing of grenadiers is that they do have the area splash damage, so it doesn't work quite as well with vehicles because they're just larger in general and tend to space out a little bit more than bots do, but against bots that splash damage is insane. Both players now stalling a little bit on the power, needs to build a little bit more, and Matisse is doing so. So that'll be good. Of course, players only really need to build as much power as is crucially necessary, and just as I suggested earlier with Matisse going over here to secure these 6 metal, he is doing so. Up comes this turret here. GregorianMonks knows about this, but he can't really do anything about it unless he can get a bomber there, and even if he does get a bomber there, the turret will be up and completed, which will defend against any ground forces, and these tanks now are going to move in and try and take out this metal sites here. But you can see how these grenadiers, because of the speed of the tanks, are able to just get hits on every time because of the projectile prediction, and the fact that the tanks simply can't dodge. They don't have that micro ability that the bots do. And Matisse now interestingly mixing in vehicles, which is fair enough, just to get the pack the punch that he necessarily needs. Because yes, while grenadiers are useful and good, especially while shooting over cliffs and everything, especially on Forge, they're so useful for that. But unfortunately, you'll find that they don't pack the punch that is necessary unless you spam up enough of them. But at this point, looking at the army counts, you still have relatively similar mobile unit counts. And most of those are vehicles for GregorianMonks, now starting to factor in some grenadiers of his own to counter the grenadiers of the enemy. So Matisse realising, you know, I'm going to fall behind if I don't mix in a few vehicles into this, simply to get that hard backbone. We did see the bombers over here take out the fabricators, so it's not going to build any more walls, but I think GregorianMonks would be wasting vehicles if he just decided to keep churning them into this turret here, because the turret will just churn these things out into butter so many times. I think it would have been wise to just let the bomber do the work there rather than sending in more units. Meanwhile, on the main front, we have a Gregorian monk commander way out in front there, building a little bit of metal. Needs to get up a little bit of defences because these grenadiers work wonders against commanders who are out of position. And even more so to Infernos. Wow, I don't tend to see those mixed in too often on the front lines, although maybe the game has changed since I played it mostly last. That's going to be quite important actually, and these broad-sided grenadiers just chewing up this tank force here. You can just see the power of those grenadiers because they can get away and still do all of that damage, and now moving the Infernos to the front, so they're going to tank all the shots. And look at that. The entirety of GregorianMonks' army just wiped away. At least 20 of the unit count there gone, putting Matisse squarely in the lead. And Matisse hasn't even expanded to the same extent that GregorianMonks has, certainly not down the western shoulders here. You see GregorianMonks has put up a few defences there. I don't think he needs to do too much more, and he could possibly even move in and steal Matisse's, or at least disrupt it, because Matisse is now getting that there. Meanwhile over here we see Matisse losing metal on that front as well. So Matisse, while losing metal, still isn't stalling, so we know that he's producing satisfactory amounts of units. Meanwhile in the army tab there we can see that he's just pulling away with the unit counts, and the commander is now dangerously on the front lines. When Matisse knows this, I wonder whether we'll see an interesting change to boombots. I doubt it, simply because Matisse already has the unit mass of grenadiers which can just wreck commanders. Unfortunately though, you do still have to watch out for the commander Ruber cannon. Meanwhile of course on the western lane, I suppose here, Matisse beginning to push in with the Infernos at the front, so they're going to be tanking all those shots, and he will start to dent in GregorianMonks' base. And of course this is also a problem insofar as GregorianMonks will now have to divert units in order to defend against this, and when he does so that means he pulls units off this front line, which is now beginning to endanger this commander, which means he won't be able to defend against this as well, just in order to defend against it on this lane. So of course the old saying, divide and conquer, and that is exactly what Matisse is going to be trying to do at this point. Furthermore, he's pushing out very, very aggressively with his commander here to claim this metal in the middle, possibly put up a few factories as well to cement this position. The GregorianMonks desperately trying to do so as well, using a factory as a sort of mini wall itself there. But here you can just see how good the grenadiers are on Forge, just over the cliffs, over the rocky outcroppings, just absolutely wrecking, simply because the vehicles that GregorianMonks has favoured earlier on in this game do not have the line of sight to shoot, whereas the grenadiers with the arcing shots can just do whatever they want. And looking at the army tab there, you can just see how GregorianMonks is going down a little bit, while Matisse is just continuing to grow. Going back to the economy tab there, Matisse back in the green, having built some mechs over here to counter the issue of all of these mechs. Gregorian Monks still behind on metal, but way ahead on power. I think perhaps built a little bit too much. All the same, of course, this side now is threatened once again, as is the commander on the other side now. We've got a ton of Infernos moving in with Grenadiers as well, and there's no way the commander's going to be able to deal with that with Uber Cannons unless he gets some spot-on Uber Cannons. And the Inferno's moving straight into the Grenadiers. Not great micro there from Gregorian Monks. The Inferno's doing well, kiting those units towards the Grenadier blobs that just then decimate these units. Meanwhile, this is going to be the deal sealer. These Infernos are going to be nasty. Gregorian Monks moving in with his commander, getting an Uber Cannon off, but look how quickly his health is going down. Down below 50% now. Well, just about, certainly. There it goes. And seeing the Infernos coming in behind, we'll see the GG's called any second now if he doesn't blow up before he gets the chance. And there he goes. Wow, a great game there between two good players. I wasn't expecting Gregorian Monks to be quite so amazing. I hear he's been in pretty prolific in other games, but I haven't seen him play PA before. But that was certainly a good show. Even though Matisse did ultimately take the victory, that was an interesting game to see nonetheless, because it forced Matisse to change up his unit composition so many times. It actually fought Matisse back in many, many places, like on the metal side over here. It forced Matisse to rebuild over here, but that was the unfortunate thing. Gregorian Monks doing that raiding, but didn't follow up on it and didn't contain Matisse. Raiding is all well and good, but if you deny them the re-expansion, that is all the more powerful and potent long term. As we can see over here, Matisse just claimed all of this metal just for losing these 8 over here, which were then rebuilt to 2 of. So Matisse lost 6, but gained half the map. So that's the disadvantage, I suppose, of going vehicles first on Forge, simply because you don't have that raiding power. Typically, when people do go vehicles on Forge, they go much more defensively early game, and I feel as though Gregorian Monks might have been a little bit too offensive early game, simply then losing those vehicles in poor trades with bots. But anyway, let me know what you think of this game in the comments. I'll be reading those and providing any feedback you want to in the comments. Don't forget to pop a like if you liked it, or share to your friends if you think they may be interested. I'd very much appreciate it. And of course, subscribe if you like my content. Thanks very much again, and as always, have a good day. Actually moving in with quite a sizable bot force here. Of course, they are going to meet bombers. That is a given there. Will they die? Of course they will, because they're meeting the home front. They don't want to engage here. They're going to sit with a commander and a bomber overhead. Oh, that's not really where you want to tango, my friends. Oh dear. Transsexual Empire is having none of it. She's like, get off my lawn, sir. Just go. You are not welcome. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. Can those fabbers get that up in time? And can the docks be rerouted? No, the fabbers are going to go down. That's a shame. They both go down, and that's crucial again. That's left Tunstall for a second time this game on 0 fabbers. Meanwhile, Transsexual is coming in round the back with the docks, going to be able to take down